There we go.
Welcome, everyone. We're happy to see you. Those of you who are showing up week after week, and anyone who's new, welcome. We're also would love to encourage you to say hello to each other, because that is what creates a sacred connection, is when we put our own energy and voice into it. So just say hello in the chat. You could say where you're from. How did you find your way to us? And we'd also love to know, what are you bringing to our sacred circle today? Just tap into yourself and ask yourself that question. Everything is welcome. So it might be joy, it might be the excitement of doing something new with a special group of women. It might be a shared desire, curiosity, and it could be, tap in and feel what's there. Maybe there's some stress, maybe there's some feeling tired or overwhelmed. Everything is welcome.
Oh, Jeannie, sending big love to you. I see you wrote in the chat you had some surgery, and we look at your eye. That's okay. It's really okay. All is welcome, as we said.
Well, I don't want to look at it, so either. But okay. I can't keep looking at the screen. So
that's fair enough. Fair enough. So Jane was inviting everyone just to put in the chat where you're from and how you found your way here. Right? If you could take a moment to do that, that would be great. That would be really helpful for us. And reiterating that all is welcome. All is welcome.
Yeah, and for those who have checked in with themselves about what are you bringing to our sacred circle today, I ask you again, check in. What is sitting in your energy field? What is sitting in your heart? Is it joy? Is it curiosity? Is it exhaustion, frustration? When we ask more than once, we may find a different answer. This is about going deep. What is sitting below the surface, below our habitual responses? And just reminding you that we have 30 minutes together, goes pretty quick. So we'll just ask you to use the chat for your questions or the responses that we may ask you a few questions. Just put it in the chat. We're saving them. We're going to use them to be able to respond to your interests. And we want to let you know that in our last of the 6-part series on September 12th, we'll have an hour and a half where we come on. We're going to do a teaching, and then we will also have time for Q&A. So if you have a longer question, please put it there. And we also have an email that you can send us a question. We've had a few people already give us some information, share with us their expectations, and we love that. So please feel free to connect with us, Synergy of Sacred Soul Sisters at gmail.com.
And I just put it in the chat.
Awesome.
They're in the chat for you. And those that have just joined the call, Jane was asking everyone to just kind of tune in, drop down. What are you bringing to our sacred circle today? All is welcome, right? Just dropping in and ask yourself, what am I bringing? Where am I physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, energetically, right? What is happening? Where am I? What am I bringing? And Nancy Jones is here, which she has a married name. Welcome, welcome, Nancy. So happy you're here. Hey, Kate. Beautiful AFP sisters. So nice to have you here. And Jane was just sharing that we have a really short time together. So if you could put your questions and comments in the chat, we'll try to get as many of them as we can. And we will have an hour long at the end of the 6 weeks. So thanks for being here. Jane, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, I am Jane Gratmans, living in the Ottawa area, and I have created a program called Empowered Feminine Leadership. It's my dream to help women to find out what is holding them back from stepping into their leadership fully. And I use a lot of presence work to help women to really be able to step into the leadership that's calling them.
And I'm Julie Connor. I am from the lower Hudson Valley, New York area. I've been a New Yorker my entire life. Very happy to be here. I have a healing practice, and my life dream is to really inspire and awaken to my own divinity and really help women do the same. So my work is all around that via coaching, one-on-one and in group sessions. I also channel this beautiful body of work called the 33 Pillars of Consciousness, which is all about connecting to parts of our consciousness that we might take for granted or not fully embody or engage with. So welcome, welcome. We have really exciting things to bring to you in the next 3 weeks. And Jane and I share, Go ahead, Jane. Sorry.
I'll just jump in and talk a little bit about what we did in the last couple of weeks. It's a 6-part series that we're doing. So we're on week 3. And the first week, what we're really trying to do with this whole series is to inspire women to build heart-centered, deep connections with other women. Julie and I have been on a beautiful path together. We've experienced this, sort of not really realizing that we're building this. And then over the last couple of years, we realized what a beautiful relationship we've created, and that keeps building. And we want to share tips and practices that we've used to help inspire that more for other women. So week 1, we set up a very important practice, which is creating a sacred container. And that's within yourself and also with others. Mm-hmm. Week 2, we talked about creating safety in your body so that you can show up authentically as who you are and feel safe that when anything happens in your relationship or anything else in your life, you have practices to keep you super grounded and to be able to come home to who you are so that you can access all your gifts in that moment. And then today our topic is honest communication. It is the most fundamental practice. What we're going to do today is a fundamental practice of honest communication. It's a really important skill to help you navigate. There's going to be a lot more that we have to share about honest communication in the future, but we're just starting today with this important tip. So it will help you to, all of the things that we're teaching are going to help you. Our focus is creating sacred relationship with women, but this is applicable to all relationships. And we really focus on the sacred. This is about going deep and really sharing authentically of what's truly in your heart.
I think we realize that, we have friendships. We might have friendships where, there are party girlfriends, there are let's grab a cup of coffee friends. And what Jane and I are really looking to kind of co-create together is this inspiration and movement of women working together in a way that feels extraordinarily and exquisitely sacred, special, unified by deep love, admiration, honor, and respect for each other, where your conversations are rich, which they're meaningful, where they're heart-centered and heart-inspired. So in kind of going into the topic of communication, I have 3 questions for you, and I'd love you to put in the chat number 1, 2, or 3. So 1 relating to the first question, 2, 3, and so on. And really drop in, energetically come into the question of how do you relate to worrying that if you're overly honest, and I'm not talking about honest that's hurtful, yeah, that dress looks like shit, take it off, right? More of the, wow, I know there's other dresses that look really beautiful on you. Maybe we can find one that's a little bit more flattering, right? So we're not talking about honest in the way that can be harsh and hurtful, although there may be times that that's appropriate. But are you concerned with being honest and that's going to negatively impact your relationship, right? So that's 1. Do you have anxiety and fear around asking for what you truly want or need? So is that anxiety provoking? Like, wow, I really need this person to not give me advice right now. I really just need them to listen. Or I really do need advice and they're not saying anything, right? Do you get anxiety around asking them, hey, I really need you to do this for me? That's number 2. Number 3, when you're faced with challenging discussions, right? Do you have trouble finding the right words or articulating, right, in that discussion? So 1, are you worried about negatively impacting the relationship with your honesty? 2, do you have anxiety around asking for what you truly need and want? And 3, are you struggling with finding the right word in a challenging conversation? And for some, it might be just in conversation in general, right? So just put in the chat 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3, 1 and 3, whatever feels really resonant for you. And yeah, so let me just kind of look at the chat. Okay. So we got lots of 3s. 3s, 2, 2, 3, definitely 3. So finding the right words, okay. So those that have answered 1 number, do you feel like that's just the primary and you don't relate to them? Can you relate to more than 1? I'm curious about that too, or is the one that you put in the chat the standout for you? I see, Francine, you have 1, 2, and 3. Yeah. All right, so great. So just moving on, just really taking that into consideration. I want you to take these words in a little bit. When we've all heard it, right? To thine own self be true. Right? To thine own self be true. And when we're on the topic of honest communication, we have to look at the communication that we have with ourselves. How honest are we with ourselves? And that can, have us really look at how do we bombard ourselves with lies, right? Constant barrage of self-criticism, right? We're not good enough. We're not worthy enough. We're not loved enough. We're not thin enough, pretty enough, smart enough, good enough, right? And that's enough. So honest communication is an inside job, right? We have to look at our ability to how much are we lying to ourselves? How much are we being authentic with ourselves? Or are we just in this conditioning and programming of negative self-talk? And when you're asked, or when you're asking, how are you today? Right? We all kind of do this. How are you doing today? I'm fine, you? Right? It's this kind of habitual back and forth. When we're talking about showing up authentically, it's really dropping deeper into the conversation with what is within ourselves, right? So when Jane started today, she said, you know, all is welcome. What are you with? And she asked you again and again to just notice what shifts, right? How are you doing? Good. No, how are you really doing? How are you really feeling? How are you really showing up, right? And then dropping down into that level of honesty of where you are, what's present, what's now. So you want to kind of just keep staying with and bringing that question. And for me, I kind of feel like sometimes I'm pushing myself energetically down so I get more into the body so I can become more present to the question, the situation, my own words. And that really helps you in that 3 number, for those that put that 3 in there, of getting to a place of honesty with yourself, right? Getting in the body and getting more honest. I'm going to be going into a tune-in practice today, and that embodiment of that tune-in sharpens your self-awareness. And you may be surprised by the redirection of conversations with yourself and conversations with others. Tuning in creates conversations that are driven by your heart, right? Not from the habitual, but from your heart, from an embodied place, from your womb space, rather than the mind and the limitations that the mind creates. So tune in is critical for healthy, clear, and honest communication. Tuning into your own body and tuning into the present moment. When this practice of tuning in is integrated into your daily life and relationships, you're building a stronger foundation for honesty and authenticity. Right? Tuning in builds that stronger foundation of honesty and authenticity. Rumi, beautiful quote, "That which is false troubles the heart, but truth brings joyous tranquility."
And that is a gorgeous quote. I want to just share with you, there's 5 basic elements that we have listed that we feel really support clear and honest communication. And so we've already worked on a few of these. Number 1 is creating a sacred space. So we did that in week 1, and you create that sacred space with yourself and with others before you begin conversations or even a work project. Number 2, create safety in your body. And that's all about connecting to your womb space again and again and again. It works. It creates safety. It helps you feel more stability and way more groundedness. Number 3 is connecting to your heart, so that love can be a part of everything that you do. It's always present. It's present in your thoughts, it's present in your words, and it's present in your actions. And then the 4th one is making agreements. We haven't talked much about that. We'll be talking about that later, but making agreements is part of creating safety and a sacred space or a sacred container between you. So, you know, an example of that could be nothing that we share together goes outside of our relationship. Or it could be that you make an agreement to ask each other, what do you need in this moment? You know, I need a shoulder to cry on. I need someone just to listen, or I need your advice. That's number 4. Number 5 is tuning in. And that's today's practice. Tuning in helps you to build that clear, honest communication by knowing what's going on first with yourself. So Julie's going to take us through the practice today.
And before I do, I just want you to kind of, you know, do like an internal scan, an energetic scan, kind of, you know, where am I? Right? We did that earlier in the beginning of the call, where am I energetically? And just notice as I kind of walk you through, bring us through this tune-in practice, did anything come into the awareness that wasn't there before? Did you notice anything shift? Are you aware of something in your body? So we're just kind of doing this internal and energetic external checking in, all right? So put down your pens, just really drop into the practice, to be present for the practice with us, and just start to bring awareness to what is present in your body, right? We love to go kind of, in, it's kind of like turning the eyes in, dropping down, right, down from the head. Maybe you'll pause at your heart, maybe you'll stay at your heart, or drop even deeper down into the belly and into your womb space. So becoming present in the body, right? In, back, and down. That's the first step of the tuning in. Then just asking yourself as you drop in, back, and down, how am I showing up in this present moment, right? What am I aware of, right? Is my body tense? Where am I physically, energetically, emotionally in this present moment, right? So the tune in, you're tuning into those components. What am I noticing physically? Where am I energetically? Where am I emotionally? All right, and some of the things you may notice in the physical and energetic part is, does my heart, does my being feel open, expansive, receptive? Right? Are there parts of my body that feel closed, stuck, stagnant? And you're not looking to fix or change or shift anything. It's just noticing, right? No judgment around it, simply noticing. Am I closed? Am I open? Am I stuck? Am I receptive? Is it stagnant? Is it constricted? Right? Is it softer? Is it expansive? Where am I energetically, physically? What's my emotional state? Right? Am I feeling a little down today? Do I feel uplifted, excited, curious? Right? Am I holding some grief? Am I enthusiastic? Am I grounded? Am I disappointed? Right? Where am I emotionally? How am I showing up in relation to myself? Right? Where am I? And that's beautiful awareness, because then you know how you're showing up for the person that you're in relationship with. And ask yourself these questions several times, right? At first, you might get nothing. You might not get a sensation because you're not accustomed to doing that. Right? You might not have a word for your emotional state because you don't usually do this kind of tune in and check in. So this is a practice that gets built upon. It's not something that you may have huge ahas, or some of you may have huge ahas in the moment. So just noticing, and this informs you about you and what you may need, right? So it's a great, in this learning of to ask what you need, first you have to know where you are before you ask for what you need. And in the future, we're going to share how this practice can be taken to the next level, right? It's a foundational practice that really is necessary to develop the honesty with self. So honesty can be an integral part of your conversations with others. And it also helps the listener, right? There are fundamental practices in honest communication for the listener, right? We can't assume as a sacred sister that we know what that other person needs. And the other person is going to know what they need when they do a tune in. Right? So taking this time to tune in, check in. What do I need? What do I want? Where am I energetically? So I'd love you to just put in the chat if you can just, everything feels the same. I noticed something different. I wasn't aware that I was feeling this in my body, or I was feeling this emotionally, and just kind of share that in the chat. And really staying in that space of tuning into yourself, right? again, no judgment, letting it naturally arise and letting that awareness come in just to inform you. When we are deeply honest with ourselves, right, and the tune in helps us to fine tune that, right? The honesty comes from the awareness. It improves our capacity to show up honestly for others. And like I said earlier, honesty is truly an inside job. Honest communication is an inside job where we can tune into what is happening for ourselves so we can show up, ask, and be with.
Yeah. And I would just add to that, Jules, that when you can't experience a deep authenticity and honesty if you haven't honed the skills yourself. And that's what we are wanting to offer people, to help you hone those skills. What are the skills, and offer you opportunities to practice this together in sacred sisterhood so that you can use it to enjoy your own relationships so much more, deepen them. And that the tune in itself is so easily grazed over. People learn it and then they look for something else because it's just so easy. But it is such a powerful practice. And we really encourage you to try it this week several times, at least once a day, just to tune into yourself and ask those 3 questions. How am I feeling physically, emotionally, and energetically? The more that you practice.
I just want to pop in here for a minute. So Brene Brown had this beautiful quote or something that she was just sharing. And she said, marriage is never a 50-50, right? And I think of marriage as friendships, relationships, any relationship. It's not 50-50 where I'm doing 50% of the work, you're doing 50% of the work. That sometimes I'm showing up with 20%. So when I can check in with myself and tune in and be like, hi, I really got nothing. I don't know how much support I could be. I don't know. Maybe I'm the one in need of support. So the tuning really helps you navigate where it brings more balance and awareness so you know what's there, right? And that's the foundation, that ability to communicate with yourself and then commune and communicate with someone else, right? It's really important to know, where am I? And so I'm sorry, Jane. I just needed to. Brene Brown popped into my head.
That's great. And this is what we're learning, is the pivoting back and forth and the flow between us and just trusting it. This is a beautiful skill that we've also learned, but this is really just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more to learn, and we want to help people to master these skills so that you can really enjoy those deep sacred connections. But it takes commitment to be able to do that. It's practicing it again and again, and it's having that agreement with someone that this is important and this is something I'd like in my relationship. So we just encourage you to try it and let us have some feedback. So send us an email. What difference is it making for your conversations? And to really notice that the redirection occurs when often we're in our heads and we speak to people from what's going on in our heads. But when we drop down into our womb space and our heart space, we have totally different conversations. It's amazing. All right, with that, we're going to close up. I see we're a little over time, but I want to just let you know that we have something exciting coming up. We are planning for a full day workshop as a follow-up from the 6-week series. And it's going to be on Sunday, October the 15th from 11 till 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or EDT. And we'll give you a link for that in the next week, probably. And it's really made for women who are really craving authentic relationships, that they want deep honesty. They want to have meaningful connections, and they value the importance of sacred connections with other women. We don't have to do everything alone, that we are way more powerful together, but we need to work on how do we really build those skills of deeper connection and working together. And it's really about building a safe place for you so that you can be seen and heard and understood and appreciated, and bring your gifts to the world more fully. We do this together.
And we all know to break out from the habitual, right? Takes time, it takes practice. And when doing this in an environment that is safe and it's built to be safe and sacred, it allows the practices and your ability and your skill level to really be up-leveled and to create this new way. And it might not be new for some of you, right? You may already be doing this, but when I say in a new way, it's a way that we can relate to more women, not just one or two, right? That we can have these sacred ways of being with ourselves and being in sacred space in sacred circle where there's 20 of us, 30 of us, all holding that same intention of being in, I call it holy communion. We are communing in a holy space together. So that's the vision that we hold, that there are circles upon circles upon circles of women that have dropped the old ways of being and really honor, respect, nurture, support, and lift each other up. And I hope you will consider being a part of our full day and continue these next few weeks with us. And I really thank you from my heart to your heart for being here, for showing up, for having an interest, for your reaching out, for your feedback, and really communing with us.
Yeah, I'm so grateful too. It's a very exciting step that we're doing to create this and bring it to women and really build that synergy together. We are so much more powerful when we work together, but we have to build the skill sets to be able to do that well. So thank you for coming.
Wait, and then next week, what's the topic?
I think it's healing the wound.
Triggers. No, it's the
triggers. Oh, all right.
Managing our triggers.
Yeah,
right? We all get triggered, and it's better to know where we are, that tune in and see if that trigger is from our own stuff than someone else's stuff. So next week is about managing our triggers.
Yeah, super important practice.
Yeah, super important. Love, love, love to you, gorgeous women. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Nancy. Mwah. So happy to have you here with us. Kate, big love. Marianne, Nancy, Lori, Jerry, Francine, Margot, Jeannie, Carolyn. Thank you. Have a beautiful
I can finally see you all on my phone, learning to swipe. Technology. All this craziness that's gone on today. I've got a virus on my computer, couldn't get on, and it is the ultimate practice in being in your womb space and trusting sisterhood, because Marga was helping me out and Julie was helping me out. It's amazing. It works. Bye, everyone.